Hey guys, welcome back to another video in my channel. In this video, we are going to be building a really jam-packed app that uses AI as power to write some stories or resumes. So it's really awesome. The inspiration I actually got from was Google Doc. So here's the demo of the app, and then I'm going to dive into what technology we're going to be using, and then we will build the whole app. It's like a full stack application from start to finish. We're using a lot of modern tools. So here we go. Here's the demo of the app. It's called Cool Wizards. I name all of this stuff, by the way, so it might be a little funny. Kind of like fits the product a little bit. So unlock your writing potential, discover how our cutting edge products and services can transform writing with the power of AI. And then we have a sign in over here. So once you do the signing, it shows you the Clerk sign in component. And then I'm going to actually do this over here. And then when I sign in using my email, as you can see, I already have a couple of documents created, and I have the start doc over here. If you are not familiar with this, I am going to show you where I got the inspiration from, not Google Docs. So this is where I got the inspiration from. Actually, we have start a new document. You have a couple of templates, and then you have the document itself. You can create a new document, and you can like go to the code editor right away. So that's how the inspiration of this app came about. So you can see we have similar kind of UI over here as well. The first is start a new document. We have a blank document. We have a template called Wizardly template. It's kind of like a writing storytelling template. And then we have a resume template. So let's, if we go to the blank template, click on it. It's gonna take you straight to the editor over here. You see there's a title over here. By default, this is a title. You have the editor, you have save changes, you have delete, and you have Axio Wizard. Now, this is where the fun start happen. Actually, we are using some AI technology to use a wizard or kind of AI to give you some example or enhance your writing. So for example, if I go back, I already have a story that I wanted to write, and you can see there's this right over here, and I wrote something over here that this story begins with when a wizard fell to our planet Earth. This wizard was the most powerful among the universe, but upon landing, he lost all his power. Now, as a writer, I'm like stuck right now. I don't know what to write anymore. So what I can do is I can go to the Axio Wizard and I click on that. It's like it jumps into AI. It's doing some AI work over here, and it's giving you some examples. So here's the AI is saying like, here are some ideas for developing a story based on description provided. The wizard journey of rediscovery. After losing all power, the wizard part of his journey, self-discovery, redemption, without magical abilities. He must rely on his wit, ingenuity, and help of newfound friends. This is another one, calls for magical artifact. So he tried to find some artifact that brings the power back, maybe some transformation. So you get the idea. Like the AI basically gave me some example that I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Now I can like write my story. So this is why I created that. It's like the cool part of the whole thing. I also have this. This is like Harry Potter first chapter. I copied, pasted over here, and let's see what happened when I asked the wizard what. The wizard basically like were able to tell me like this is a Harry Potter book series, and these are some of the examples, and that's great. And then I also have like a resume template over here. I created some resume, and then I asked the wizard. He's gonna give me some resume advice as well. So some resume advice, bullet point for the resume to kind of like updated some of the resume, you know, make it more functional. So that's the idea. So you can go ahead, click on this. You can change the title to my new story, and you can write your story here. If you get stuck, you can ask your AI wizard, and he will give you some ideas on what the story can write. The more we write, the more example he can give you. So that's great. Now I save changes. I'll go back, and I will see my new story come over here. So right here, my new story. click on it, I go back here, I can edit, change it again, and then I can also delete it over here, and it's gonna delete that document. That's the idea. And then I also can have multiple users, so I can like go back, sign out, I sign in the different user, and that's great. So this is another user who created kind of like a similar story. Uh, they lived the wizard somehow using all the power of Railstone. He ended up on Earth. He lost his power. Now he's trying to get his power back. So let's ask the wizard. He's gonna give me some new AI ideas on how to plot some of this story, and that's great. This is awesome. So this is perks of app. You have a wizard template. The template is gonna give you some of the template that you use to write novel. You also have a resume template that gives you name, job history, projects, education, skills, things like that. So you can go ahead, create new docs, save it, update it. You can ask the AI what to do, and yeah, that's the app. It's very full stack. We have front end, back end, database, authentication. We have AI as well. So the technology wise, what we're going to be using is for the front end, we're of course using the Next.js framework. We're going to use the ShadCN for the styling. And then we have Clerk. This is going to be for our authentication. Neon, Postgres is for our database. And then OpenAI is for our AI. So we're going to be using OpenAI as well. So that's the idea behind this beautiful app. I hope you guys are really pumped to build this. This is a really amazing application that we're going to be doing. A lot of cool modern features that a lot of startup are doing right now. So if you learn this skill, you're going to be separating yourself from all the other devs out there for sure. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and let's get started. So let's get started with our project. First thing first, we're going to install our Next.js. So npm create next app at latest. We'll create our next application. We're going to do is yes. We're going to name this as Cool Wizards. Typescript, yes lane, Tailwind, source, app router, no on the import. That's it. So once I'm done, I'm inside my project right now. And this is the next application. Let me just open up and run the npm run dev so we can all see what's going on. So I started the project and I can see it's like a blank Next.js project. Let's start adding some of our stuff over here. Yeah, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to install our database. So that's the first thing, of course. So I will open up new terminal and install npm install Prisma. npx Prisma init. So we're going to initialize our Prisma. And it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to create a Prisma folder. And inside that, it says Postgres. So by default, Prisma ship with Postgres. So that's perfect for us because we're going to be using Neon and Neon use Postgres as well. So that's perfect. And they also create an env. So that's what we need over here. I'm going to call it Cool Wizards. Database name will be the same thing as well. And this is going to be North Virginia. That's close to me. Wait. And then this is a quick start. And in the quick start, you have Prisma. You select that. And then env. You copy that snippet. Show password. Copy the snippet. And you just paste it in here. Here you go. We don't need to do that actually. So we pasted the snippet on the env.env file. That's exactly what this is. You can also copy this and just replace the database URL if you want. But I did copy the whole thing and it's working perfectly fine. So that's great. Next thing you're gonna do is create some model database over here. So we know exactly what kind of data we need. And then we're gonna like migrate and keep the data. So first thing first is we don't need that much data in our application. Is pretty straightforward. For the user, we're going to be using Clerk. So Clerk is going to handle our user. We don't need to create a separate data for user. Only data we need is just the document. So all the docs we're going to create, we're going to make a data out of it. So document data going to have ID of string. You're going to have add ID with the default generated with UID. And then user ID. There we go. User ID is going to be same as clerk ID. So we're going to be injecting the clerk user ID into the user ID. So we know which logged in user is creating the document. So that's great. Title will be optional because if you create a blank template, it's going to be a empty like default title. So we don't need to inject that. Description is going to be optional as well. Created at is date time, so default would be now, and updated at would be date time as well, but it's going to be updated at. So this is the only data we need. It's super straightforward, very easy. And I think it's a great exercise for anyone trying to learn full stack application. Like if you have a small database, you know exactly what you're doing. So it's perfect for learning purpose. So what we're going to do is npx Prisma generate. If we created the database, it should generate it. And I'm going to create something over here called utils file inside the app. Inside the source, not the app. So on the source, you have util file, and that util file, we're going to create a new file called db.ts. And when we create the npx generate, it did us two things. It gave us like a Prisma client and also an edge. We are not going to be using the edge. We're going to be using this one over here, the first one. So I'm going to export that. And I'm going to change the name to db. So we know we're using the db on the Prisma to update data. So what's happening over here? I'm going to do a quick recap so just you guys understand what's exactly happening. So we connected our database using Prisma. We created a model on the Prisma and we told the database basically how our data is going to look like. And on the util db, we generated a Prisma client. So what's happening over here is whenever we want to inject, like add some data, update some data, delete some data, we have to use the client. So Prisma client is basically talking to our Postgres by using the env, and by using that, we can just use all the adding, deleting, updating operations. So it's super easy to use Prisma that way, and it's really great. Save us a lot of time. So we're gonna be using this to change our database. So that's perfect. We are done now. Like let's do npx Prisma migrate there. The last piece of operation we're going to do on the Prisma. This is going to migrate everything we just updated over here to our database. Look like my database is not running. So let's go to refresh the page over here. And I'll do that one again. So migration name would be new database update. So sometimes database kind of like slips. So once the database is not able to connect, just refresh the neon page. It actually does the trick. But yeah, that happens sometimes. But yeah, looks like the migration worked. Let's go to our table and see if anything. So we have a new migration over here. That's perfect. You go to document and you see we have ID, user ID, title, description, created, updated. So exactly the same thing as we made it over here. So our migration was successful. Perfect. So our database is connected. We can like start updating or injecting data into our table. No problem over there. Let's go and start installing Clerk. So we know we can like authenticate our data, our user. So for the application, I'm gonna use email and Google email as well. This is all we're going to be using all the time. So by default, they provided that. You can also use other stuff like GitHub. You can use Facebook. You can use Microsoft. You can use all kind of logging authentication. So I'll do cool users. That's the application name. And they're going to tell you how to connect with Next.js. So it's pretty cool. It's super easy to do. So all you do is npm install Clerk/Next.js. I copy that, pasted it over here. Perfect. That's great. Now they're gonna give you some environment variable. Just copy that. And then I'll create another one. So they prefer the local. I'll just do that instead as well. Just .env .local. And here I'll just paste that two things over there. Perfect. And now they want a middleware. Now this is where sometimes some error might happen, but usually it's a new middleware. Like they updated some of the new stuff on the Clerk, new version. So what you're gonna do is inside the source, you're gonna create a file called middleware.ts. And inside that, you just copy this whole thing and just paste it there. It's just kind of like middleware talking with the Clerk, making things work. And next is we're gonna be using is I'm gonna bring that up into our local layout, our root layout. So our very first layout on the app, and I'm gonna bring in import Clerk provider from Clerk, and then we're gonna just wrap it around outside the HTML. So that's like wrapping authentication throughout our whole application. That's perfect. And next we're gonna do is we're gonna create the sign in, sign out behavior of the user. We're gonna try to put that in a navbar. So we're gonna create a navbar component and then use this over there instead of just right over here. So let's do that. So in our source, I want to create another file called components. So we have everything in one place. We'll create a component called navbar.tsx or app put there and then name it navbar. And so what we're going to do is bring that in our application. So let's go back to our application. I'll delete everything pretty much over on the page. I'll create the main and then I'll create the navbar. That's the navbar should go on the layout, to be honest. So I can put that in the layout. So right above children, I'm gonna do is navbar. I'm gonna bring the navbar in from a component. That's perfect. So what we do over here is we deleted everything. Just on the layout navbar. I'll delete the CSS as well because I don't want the dark theme on that. So we have a navbar on our root project that's coming from the layout over here. Let's start updating the navbar slowly. And so we're going to do a couple of things over here. We're going to be using the authentication process over here. So we're going to bring in sign in button from Clerk at /Next.js, and then signed out, signed in, and then user button. So the beautiful thing about Clerk is that they give you a lot of component for authentication, and you just drop it in your component, and it just, the UI takes care of it. So we don't have to create a component from scratch. Saves us a lot of time, and just use the Clerk provided. Whatever the provided is like really amazing. So it's pretty cool to work with that. And yeah, I'm gonna do that. And let's start jumping in right over here. So I'm going to create a div inside that, and then this is where our component authentication is going to live. So we're going to have a logo. So we're going to have a logo over here. So right there we have a logo, and then we have our auth under the logo. So that's basically our like a navbar situation. So logo. We're gonna start building it, and in the auth, we're gonna put all the auth in the div. The first thing it's gonna do is sign in, sign out behavior. If a user is signed out, we're gonna show them sign in button. So what we're gonna do is, if the user is signed out, we're gonna show them a signed in button so they can sign in. So there you go, sign in button. And if the user is signed in, we're gonna show them a user button, which is a nice UI provided by Clerk, and it shows a lot of good stuff about the UI user that's logged in. So let's go back into our application, and you can see sign in over here. That's coming from this right here. So we click on this, it goes to our Clerk authentication. Continue with Google. I open up a new app, and we are logged in. And you can see we have a logged in UI. This is user button. So if the user is signed in, we're gonna serve this. So this is exactly what's been served. You can manage account, you can sign out, you can do a lot of different stuff, but that's what it is. If I'm signed out, it's gonna show me this button over here. So that's work perfect. Let's start building out the logo side of things, and we're gonna update this a little bit. I'm gonna have all the graphics on my GitHub, so make sure you check the link down below. Grab the GitHub graphics, which I'm gonna be dropping it in a public folder in a little bit. So I got a hero kip and the logo.svg. The logo, I actually got it from, I got the logo from this website called Untitled UI. They have a lot of free logos that you can work with, and I created a logo from SVG from there. It's pretty cool. All the logos are very modern, so I really like that. So let's just start building out our logo slowly over here. I'm gonna be dropping the logo in a logo component. So I'm gonna have a logo component, create a separate, and here I will create another file for logo.tsx. And in here, we're gonna do is logo component, create it, and then here we're gonna do is we're gonna do a link over here. That's coming from next link. And here we're gonna do is an image. That's also coming from next image. So all Next.js good stuff. And then for the source, we're gonna do is slash. So anytime you do source, it's gonna be hitting the public folder. So we are already in the public. That's great. Then logo.svg. And then we're gonna do is we're gonna specify the height to be 40 and width to be 40 as well. And alt should be logo. And then href is going to be the parent folder, of course. And h2, we're gonna do a little. Let's do a little like experimental with this. We're gonna bring in a new font. So for the logo, we're gonna be using a different font. It's called Carla from Google Font. By the way, Next.js shipped with the Google Font by default, so which is pretty good. And then we're gonna create a Carla variable, and then bring in the Carla and do like a subset of our Latin over here. And then we are gonna be doing a weight. I'm gonna increase the weight of the font a little bit, so just we bring in the 500 weight. That's perfect. We are gonna be using CN. So CN is coming from ShadCN. So let's install that real quickly because we're gonna be using a lot of ShadCN UI as well. So why not? Let's go back to our arc over here. ShadCN right there. Get started. And we're gonna do installation for Next.js, and then we're gonna install this right here. Go back to our terminal. And also at the same time, let's bring in the logo, so not showing an error. Wait. Go back to our localhost. There we have the logo. Perfect. ShadCN, let's install that. I'm gonna go with defaults and slate. Yes. I'm gonna reset my server as well because the ShadCN library actually updated a lot of like next config and Tailwind. So I want to make sure you reset the server. And why I want to use CN? So ShadCN actually have something on the lib. They have a util file, and in the util file they have something called CN. So CN is what merge, like it merges TailwindCSS, and you can also do like a conditional stuff. It's like CLX, pretty cool. I use that, and I think it's really nice to kind of like go about that. So I'm going to use that to bring in my font, new font, and also some Tailwind classes over to my H2. So what I'm going to do is class name, and then I'm going to bring in the CN, which is coming from the lib util. So there we go. And then what I'm going to do is text to Excel, and margin left going to be 2. And then in here, I'm going to do a comma, Carla class name. That's basically like bringing in our new font to our H2. And then I'm going to write Q users. That's the name of the app. Go back to our application, and you should see the change over here. If I started the server, cool. There we have it. We have the logo and the font. Let's start making some changes over here. So class will be flex and items will be center. So it's like both of them together over there. There we go. And then let's start updating our nav bar as well. So we have a strong sense of that. What's happening? So logo, we're gonna be is good. And then we also have like a div over here. That's perfect. Now we're gonna do is class name. Margin Y of 2, margin X of 4, flex justify between, and then items will be center, padding Y of 2 as well. So let's go back and see how it's looking like. Looking pretty nice over here. The sign in goes over here. I wanna have a button in here. It's like pretty simple. So I wanna add like a ShadCN button. Let's go back to ShadCN and look for a button. Install that, copy that, go to terminal, paste that in. So right over here, when we do a sign in button, they're bringing in some sign in functionality, right? Just a font paragraph over here. I don't want that. I want to have a ShadCN button. So what I can do, like I can add that in the children. So I bring in button that's coming from ShadCN, and I'll like sign in. It's gonna give us like a nice ShadCN button over here. So I'll refresh it. You see the ShadCN button. I sign in with my user. Get signed in. You can see my user button is over here. My user is signed in and ready to update some data. That's perfect. So this is great. Now I'm gonna we're gonna start making some new changes and updating some new components. So I have like an Excalibur to introduce a better way of understanding the project. I think this way you're gonna have like a more understanding in a deeper way. So this is what we're doing in Cool Wizard. We have Next.js. I'm using Clerk for authentication. This one is done right now, so that's good. Check mark on that. We also did Prisma and Neon. Check mark on that. The database are connected. Authentication is connected. We are gonna start building our component that's gonna be inside here, and then we're gonna be using OpenAI to kind of like communicate between the component to have our open AI in our application. So component wise, the nav bar right here, we just completed that. We added the logo, the authentication Clerk over here. That's done. The next part is we're gonna do is new document component, which is basically going to be start a new document, blank with the template, resume, and things like that. And then we're gonna have a recent document. So if a user created a new document, their document is gonna be over here. And inside the document, you're gonna have the editor, save changes, delete, and the wizard. That's gonna have the OpenAI. So this is all the stuff we're gonna be building shortly. We are done on this one. Let's go into that part, the new document. So I will go back to my editor, and I will make this a little shorter so we understand see what's happening over here. Right. Next part is the new document. Before I dive in, I also want to show you something that Google Doc have their routing as Google Docs/document as their landing page. So that's the landing page. You cannot do this. That's gonna go to the Google Doc/document. So we're gonna be using this. We are gonna be mimicking that behavior that Google Doc have, that the routing is set to document. This is gonna be our front page, not this, not the slash one. So I'm gonna try to mimic that behavior in our project as well. So let's go to our routing over here. I'll move that down and move that on the side so we can see side by side. So what we're gonna do is in our folder structure in the app, we're gonna create a folder called page document. But at the same time, this is our home page by default. What we're gonna do is we're gonna redirect to document. Direct, that's coming from navigation, and that's gonna be redirected into the document. And we're gonna create the document routing. So app API, we're gonna create a document file. And inside that, we're gonna have a page.tsx, and then document page. Okay, there we go. This is our home page right now. I'll refresh it. Every time we go to our home page, it's gonna redirect to our document. So exactly the same behavior that Google Doc have. So they have a document. So perfect. You're also kind of like mimicking that idea of that. And that's great. So this is where we're gonna have our stuff, all our component that matters. So the first component I'm gonna build is called a dashboard over here. So the dashboard is gonna have the create new and the recent. So I'll do this dashboard, and I'll create the component shortly. In the document file, I'm gonna create a new folder called _components. So this way, the component that I only using the document route is gonna be staying over here, and dashboard is one of them. So I'll do this dashboard tsx, and then dashboard component. So I'm gonna bring that in over here as well, so you can see. There we go. The dashboard component is right there. And inside the dashboard component, we're gonna do a couple of things. Let's go over here. We are gonna be doing is, I'm gonna map that out. So we're gonna be doing is a new document component. So the new document component is gonna have the new document over here. And then we're gonna have add a component called recent document. This is gonna be all the documents that the user created themselves. So that's the two things that we're going to be adding in. Of course, we are going to be doing is if the user is not authenticated, we're going to show them in an intro page. So let's do that first, taking care of business first. So this is how you do it, by the way. So the cool part about Clerk is you can bring the auth from the Clerk and then just grab the user ID. So if a user is logged in, they create an account, they have a user ID added to their auth. So you can bring the auth from the Clerk Next.js server that's going to have the user ID, and they can check if the user ID is there. If it's not there, that means the user shouldn't be in this page. You know, the user shouldn't be able to see the dashboard. So what we can do is we can show them the intro page. So I'm going to create the intro page shortly, and we're going to have a little bit of fun on that. Let's do that right now just to get this out of the way. So in the dashboard, we're going to create an intro page. Intro page. And this is the only page where I want to be a little bit more experimental. So this is the only page that I don't want to spend a lot of time in. You know, I just want to put the intro page in there and be done with it. So what I'm going to do is to experiment this a little bit. I'm going to create a VO. Next.js, the vercel, they made a VO vercel. They made a new app called VO, which is pretty fun to work with. So I'm going to create an intro page with text. enter, authenticate with my GitHub, of course. So I do that, enter, and it's gonna create some intro pages that I'm gonna just copy paste it over here and see how that AI workflow is working for you. You know, like it's kind of like this. So we have this one they made for us. That's pretty nice. This is pretty cool as well. I'm gonna go with this. So this one have a kind of a little bit more stuff. That's fine. I can do is code over here, copy the code, paste it over here, and they added a lot of stuff, but I don't need that. So intro page, and then I'm gonna do is delete the next section. So this section I don't need that. And in here we're gonna use the image, of course, because that's the most recommended way to do it. And in the placeholder, we're gonna be using the hero.gif. That's looking great. Let's go back to our application and see what it looks like. So if I logged in, I should be on the intro page. Let's bring that in over here. Page is added, imported. So the intro page is looking like this right now. That's great. And what we're gonna be saying here is, let's update that a little bit. So unlock your writing potential, and then I'll have a feather emoji. And in here, we're gonna be doing is discover how our cutting edge products and services can transform your writing with the power of AI. That's great. So there we go. Just started, and then we can do sign in over here. Sign in. Just sign in. Go to our page over here. The user should be seeing a dashboard. If a user is signed out, you should be seeing the intro page and not the dashboard. So that's the power of that. We kind of like updated that. Yeah, that's great. You can also get rid of this, or you can add a sign in button over here as well. Like we can also do that easily. So what we can do is sign in button, and then just add that in the link over here. There we go. Start it, and then click on this, take it to the sign in button as well. So that's great. That's the beauty of the Clerk. And we are out of it. So we don't need to worry about that anymore. We kind of like made that pretty like secure. So let's start building a new document, which is gonna have our the new document component that's gonna help us create the more new documentation, and then we can start playing around with the database that we can create new document in the database. The first thing first, in this component, I'm gonna create another file called new document TSX and RAF over here, new document. There we go, and then we're gonna bring that in the dashboard. So in here, we're gonna do the new document component. Perfect. And import it over here as well. So in the dashboard, let's start the new document component like that. So the new document is gonna be pretty fun component to work with. We're gonna have a couple of template. We're gonna be like looping through the template, and then we're gonna create new doc where we can like create new template, and it's gonna like show us where to go after that. So starting off first, we're gonna create a new div, and in this div of the new doc right here, we're gonna have some class name. Now there's gonna be a lot of classes, so bg, way, pt, 300 pixel height. We are trying to recreate the Google Doc, New Docs situation over here. So some of the styling will be a little similar. Trying to recreate that. So flex row, MD, flex column, and then justify center, and then we have flex would be wrap. Have that created up in there. Then we're gonna create another one, and a div. We're gonna have a flex column, space y of 4. Then w would be 10 by 12, and mx would be auto. Flex would be wrap as well. And inside that, we're gonna create a h3 element, and it's gonna say start new document. It's similar to this one right here. So let's create that, and we're gonna like style that out as well. And styling to do is just text muted, foreground. Text would be small. That's great. So we kind of like do that styling over there, and then we're gonna do a div, and this div is basically gonna be wrapping over all the template that we're gonna create. So this is the fun part actually to start working on. So in the template, we're gonna have a couple of things. We're gonna have fonts, template map. This is gonna be an array, and then in that array, we're gonna have a couple of templates. So like this, right? And in one of this template, we're gonna have component. In the component, we're gonna like make a button component. These are basically the boxes you see. So this is one component, one component, one component. So these are all different components. That's great. And then in the button, we're gonna have card. So the card, we're trying to bring it from ShadCN. So what we're gonna do is go to the card, the ShadCN, and install it first again. So we have our card installed. Next, what we're going to be doing is go over to our component in the button. We're going to create a card. It's going to come in from ShadCN. And inside that, we're going to create a card header, ShadCN as well. And then a card content. And then a card footer. Perfect. We have that in there. And then we're going to do is we're going to be styling this card a little bit. So let's see how it's looking like. Probably not the best. Footer as well. So the component is going to have, each component template will have a component and a footer. So right after the end of the component, we're going to add a footer, which is going to be a text, basically blank document. So let's map this in here. So every time we create something, we can see what's happening in the visualization way. So what we're going to do is map to this thing. So I'm going to do is template map dot map template. That's going to be a div. There we go. And then we're going to have a couple of things. So I'm going to do template dot component. So the component will be here inside the div. And then after that component, we're going to have a paragraph, which is going to have template.footer. So whatever text we put in the footer will be there. So let's style this out a little bit. So the div is going to be flex space x2 or 4. Let's do 4. The flex will be wrap as well. And then for the div, we need key. Otherwise, it's going to keep showing us some error. The key would be footer. Don't worry about that too much. And then we have a paragraph class. Let's add that of text SM. Margin top of 2, margin left of 2, and we should be good. That's great. So we have something going on, and you can see on the visualization way what's kind of like happening there. So that's great. I think that's working great. So let's start building out the component a little bit so we have something more to work with. So for the styling of we need a size of 150 pixel. So let's do that. 50 pixel. Hover, we're gonna add some styling as well. Border. And then hover will have a border color of blue 500. So this one right here. And then we're also gonna do is hover cursor pointer. There we go. That's great. So we have this going on right here. And then we're gonna do is gonna add kind of like an icon. So I think ShadCN shipped with this icon. It's called plus. It's coming from Lucid React. So Lucid React. That's great. And I'm gonna do is I'm gonna increase the size to an 80. So we have a plus icon on here. And it's looking like a little bit slanted, which is fine. We're gonna fix that right now. So flex, justify center, and MX to auto. It's like centered. That's great. So this is one of the component. There's gonna be a couple component of our template. And it's also going to take in a button over here. So what's gonna happen is on click, we're gonna do some creation stuff. So we're gonna go to our database and create that component. So we know we create a blank document, and we're gonna send the user to that document so they can like go and see what they created when they created a blank document. So that's the idea, and the function is gonna be called create new doc over here, and then we're gonna create a function over here. I'm gonna minimize that and then create the functionality. So const create new doc. It's gonna be an async function. There we go. And here we're gonna do some try-catch stuff. We're gonna use the Axios to go to our API. We're gonna build our API where they're gonna go in the API server route handlers. We're gonna be creating the data and we're gonna send the user back to the data. So that's what we're gonna be creating in this function over here. So let's do that right now. So first thing first is it's gonna be doing some Axios responsibilities. So I'm gonna install Axios, npm install Axios. Axios is a better way to handle our fetch requests. You have to like handle the promise. Axios does that behind the scenes, so it's a lot easier. So I'm gonna use that and use a try catch over here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the route handler and we're gonna be giving them some data. And if the data is not present, we're gonna just create a blank template. So const response is equal to await Axios. We're gonna bring that from Axios post, and then we're gonna do is API / document / new. That's great. And what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna create this route over here. So that's gonna be in app. We're gonna create a file called API. That's gonna be our route handlers. Create a file called documents inside that. And then in there, create a file called new as well. And then in there, we're gonna do route.ts. So that's our route handlers for the API / route / document / new. And we're gonna start building it out over here. So we're gonna create an export async function called post in all caps. Request is gonna be request. And here we're gonna start doing some try catch again. So in the try, we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in the user. So we're gonna make sure if the user is authenticated in the server side as well. So it's all secured. So we're gonna do the same thing we did in the front side of it. So we're gonna bring the auth from the Clerk Next.js server, and we're bringing the user ID. So we're making sure if the user is authenticated. If there is no user ID, that means the user is definitely not there. So they shouldn't be able to do rest of the operation. So we're gonna throw an error with the next response. We're gonna call that user not authenticated, and then we're gonna throw a status of 4 or for one there. So that's good. That's out of the way. And then we're gonna do is const create new doc, and then await would be db. Now this is the first time we're bringing this up here. Remember, this is the Prisma client that we created a little while ago, which is coming from the util and the db over here, the Prisma client. So that's basically we're bringing that in. And then we're gonna do is document. So document is our data. So we created the schema over here. So anything you name over here is gonna be lowercase, whatever you named here. So our document is lowercase to this. And then we're gonna do create, and then our data over here. And inside the data will be user ID, which is coming from the auth over here. So that's gonna be the user ID who is logged in, is their document. Title would be on title document, and description would be empty. No description yet. That's perfect. Once we create our docs, we're gonna like revalidate the path. So revalidate our home path, and then we're gonna return our data. So next, we're gonna next response .json, and we're gonna create new doc, and then we'll send in a status of as well. So we handle that status of 200, and then if it's an error, we're gonna throw a similar error over here. It's wrong spelled. Let's show this over here. We're gonna do some kind of like a post new doc error, and the status would be 500 on that. So that's been created. Let's create this and see if it's working on the database. So right over here, we want to also do one thing. Since we're using on-click on this, right over here, we're using on-click on the function over here. We need to make this into a use client. So there's some UI interaction happening. So make sure this is the use client, not a use server. So when we click that, it's gonna invoke this function, and this function is gonna go to this API and do the post request on the API. And then post request, what's happening is we're checking if the user is authenticated. If they're not, we're gonna throw an error. If the user authenticated, we're gonna start making a new documentation. So let's go back to our neon, right? On the table, we have an empty table over here. Let's go back to our file. Let's create this. Looks like we have post successfully 200. And go back to our neon, refresh this page. Looks like we have our new data. That's perfect. We have a description which is empty. We have a title of untitled document, and we have a user ID which is like authenticated user, and ID created by Prisma, created at, updated at. Perfect. So we created a database of documents straight up, and it worked perfectly, no error. That's great. So we have a database right now that we can like loop in here and kind of like show that I created a database over here. That is going great. Now I'm gonna be creating this, and then I'm gonna come back to the template because the template require a little bit more understanding. So I think it's better if we create the template a little bit later, so we have more knowledge on what is actually going on behind the scene. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave that over here. So we have our database created. I'm gonna start building this out, and then we'll come back, create a template, update this a little bit. We need to update this side of things, handle things a little bit better. So I'll go ahead and do that in here. We create a new component called recent document .tsx. In here, we are doing a couple things. So we're gonna be doing is the recent document right there. And let's bring that into our dashboard right here. So we have it, maybe in here. It's in document. Let's start building that out a little bit. So what we are doing over here is we are actually fetching, like we are going to our database and like getting some document, whatever document we have, we created. Like we're going to be going to the database, document, get all this document, and then map through over in our document over here. So that's the idea behind it. The first thing we're going to be doing is make this an async function. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a user ID as well. So we have auth coming from the Clerk server. That is perfect. Next, we're going to be doing is const user documents equal to await db Prisma client db, and then document dot find many. So we're going to find all the document that there is, but we want to have a conditional. We only want to grab the document that is created by this logged in user. So we don't want to grab the document from all the users that created, just the user who's logged in. We're going to grab the document of him. So how many document he created, we're only going to grab that document. So we're going to do a where conditional here, where user ID is equal to user ID. That is great. Now we're going to have a Typescript error, and I'm going to fix that by using some kind of safe user ID, because that's the way to kind of like fix this Typescript. It's either going to be a string or undefined. So sometime if the user is not authenticated, it's not going to be there. So what we're going to be doing is so right now we have a type error. The way to fix this is if we're going to throw an error if there's no user IDs found. So we're going to be like return we just console log user not authenticated, and if this user is found, then we're gonna just do that. So that's the way to kind of like handle that. And then we're gonna do is order by created at ascending order. We have an ascending order on that. That is great. We're gonna do a return in here, so we get rid of this error over here. So if the user is not authenticated, we can do is redirect them. Redirect to our home page. The home page is basically our document page. So I will kind of bring that from next navigation. There we go. Return right now. So we just redirect them and really good with return. That's great. So we have that. So this is going to be grabbing this over here. So this user is matches the ID. So we're going to grab that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to map through that in our over here. So for here, we're going to be doing some styling, of course. So width would be 10 by 12. MX would be auto. And MY would be 4. And then H1 would be recent document. We're going to style that out a little bit. So let's see how it's looking like. Ascent would be font semi bold. Text would be small. Margin bottom would be 4. Perfect. And then next what we're going to do is we're going to have our div that we're going to be mapping through. So we're going to do is a user document. If user document dot length is greater than 0, then we're going to be doing a mapping. If not, let's show them a paragraph basically. So that's the gist of it. I'm gonna put in a parentheses as well. We're going to do that. And then here we're going to do is user document.map document. And then we're going to do is give, and then a link from our next link. And here we're gonna have a key, of course. Otherwise, it's just gonna be metas a little bit, but that's great. In the link, we're gonna have a card component, so we can like basically copy paste whatever we did on this component. So copy that, paste it over here, and bring all the stuff as well. So the card import. We don't do React import at all. Good. And then we're gonna need the link import. I'll do a quick fix. Import link from next link. Oh, we need a source. And here we're gonna do is we're gonna change that to book text. Book text icon. And size would be 60. That's great. We need a href on the link. So we're gonna do is href. Now here what we're gonna do is document slash document movement.id. We haven't created this route yet, but we're gonna create that shortly. So we have that. Once we click on this, so we created this. So let's say we also have our name in here. So in the under the link, we're gonna do a paragraph and document a title. Document title. The title is untitled, so by default, that's the title is. The do is class name of text sm margin top 2. There we go. So that's perfect. If I create another one, it's gonna create another one over here. Of course, going to the route that I haven't created it yet. But if you go back, you see we have another document created because I clicked on this. The route JS worked. So right now, we're gonna keep doing some work that is gonna fix the styling a little bit first. And if it's not, if there's no more, if the user doesn't have any document created, we're gonna tell them once you start writing a recent document, we'll go here. I'm gonna style that as well. That's perfect. And we're gonna style this this over here. Last name would be width of 50 pixel. So perfect. And then we're gonna do is class this over here. Flex gap of 8. Flex wrap over there. And like wraps over on the other side. So there we have it. That's perfect. Look like we have a lot of stuff going for us so far. I am next going to do is create this, and then we're gonna come back and create the template. So we can see how the data is working out on both ends. So we have like a more deeper understanding of the data handling in this situation. So I'm gonna build this over here. This is gonna be the bigger part of things. So every time we click on this, we're gonna go to document/document ID, and then there we have the documents of the data pulled in from the ID, and it's gonna be on the form handling side of things. So yeah, let's start doing that. So right now we are making some good progress. So it's time to create the document ID page, which is going to be inside the document routes over here. So this is like a dynamic page. So this is how it works. So you go to the document and then you go to create another page. inside the folder, and then we're gonna do a square bracket and call it document ID. And I is capital over there, and then inside that we'll create a page.tsx as well. Single document page. So this is through the ID. So every time we created this document, each document have a different ID, as you can see down here. So one, this is going to be referring to that document. So if we go in here, you should be able to see single document page. The ID is this 1D, and this one gonna have a totally different ID, like CF. So this is basically what it's doing. So this is like just going to this document pages over here, but we're gonna grab the ID using the params over here, and we're gonna start working with that. So the first thing we're gonna do is over here, we're gonna like grab the params, and in the params we're gonna have document ID. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna destructure that for Typescript params is single document prop. I'm gonna do this interface single document prop. Here document ID is gonna be a string. So there we have that in place. Next we're gonna do is const get document is equal to await db is from the db, and then document dot find unique. So every document is gonna be unique. So find unique where the ID is gonna be params dot document ID. So params is basically whatever this is over here. So this is async. We have to turn that into async. So if we go, let me show you. If we go over here, this is basically same thing as document ID. So that was right there. Now, how did the document ID came about is by this, because we named this route to name this dynamic route a document ID. So that's exactly that ID. We're getting that from params, and we are finding it in our database. So we are going to our Neon database. We're going in here and we are finding the ID by using that ID. So on 1D, so we are finding that. So that is great. And then we're going to be pulling some data. We're passing it into our block, which is going to be our editor block. And in that editor block, we're going to be making this over here. So let's create another component. So in the document ID, we're going to create a folder called component_component. So this is not visible. And then here we're going to call is editor block.tsx. Editor block over here. And we're going to bring that here. There we go. So it should be saying editor block right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to start building that out over here. So the editor blocks is going to get the document and start showing result of that specific document. So it's going to start showing the result of that document over here that we are trying to mapping through in this that document over here. So the first thing first, we are going to do a bunch of things over here. So a lot of this is where most of our stuff's going to be. So we're going to get this done using a lot of ShadCN UI. So let's go back. I'm going to take this off, take that off, put a ShadCN. So we're going to be using a form to capture some data. So I'm going to install that form over here. And we're going to start writing out the form over here. So what we're going to do is, here, we're going to do is const editor form is equal to use form, which is coming from the React form hook, which is installed just now. So Z from Zod.infer type of, and then we're going to do is form schema. So we need to create a schema called form schema, and that's going to have all the stuff that we need. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a schema over here called form schema is equal to z, which is coming from zod.object. So we're going to specify what kind of data we need. We need a title data without string, minimum of 2, and then maximum title would be 50. We don't want a big title. Description is similar, a string, and minimum of 2. We don't want any maximum. It can go as long as 1. So for our data over here, we want a title, and then we want our description. So that's the schema is for we're creating. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here. We're going to create an editor form. Is equal to use form. It's going to be React hook form, and then C is from the Zod, and then infer type of form schema. And then we're going to do is resolver. This is going to be a Zod resolver that's coming from the Zod over there, and then we're going to pass in the form schema. Now this is basically how the ShadCN form works, and they use Zod internally, and it does a great job at handling the errors. So I really like that part of it. So we're gonna add some default value. Title would be document title. So title and description would be document description. So we are getting this from right over here. So whenever we're getting the document stuff, we're gonna pass that in here, and we're gonna be using that from a prop standpoint over here. So let's start creating the props over here. So interface document prop ID would be string, user ID string as well. Title would be string or null, would be empty. Description is string or null. Created at would be string, would be a date. Updated at would be date. Just to make sure create add, update add, so not create it. There we go. That's how the data is. And then what we're gonna do is to fix the TypeScript error. We're gonna create an editor block props. That's gonna have a document. Since it's coming as a document, we're gonna do a document prop or null. And in here we're gonna do the props breakdown. So I'm gonna do is react.fc editor block props, and in here we're gonna do is document. There we go. And in here we're gonna do is it could be an empty string, could be an empty string. So that should be good. And then we're gonna pass in the document on the page over here. The document is equal to get document. So whatever we're getting from the ID, we're gonna pass in all the information in the editor block. And the editor block will have all that information to work with. That's great. This error will go away once we start building it out. So there we have it. We are gonna be also doing some error handling over here. So I'm gonna do is if no document, if document is not found, we're gonna just redirect them to the home page. We'll be bringing the redirect as well. Next, navigation. There we go. So that's it. That's how we created our props, and we created the edit form, which is use form from React Hook form. They are all being installed when we install the Zod form that comes behind the scene. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start creating the form over here. So I'm gonna do this form from form, and then inside that it's basically is over here all the stuff. So we're gonna do similar things, and in here we're gonna do a regular form, and regular form, inside that regular form we're gonna do form field. We need a control, so it's gonna come from the editor form dot control. We need a name. It's gonna be title. So this is the title input, and vendor it would be field form item. So right here, this is we're doing this right here. So form item. I'm gonna copy this and update that. We're gonna make sure we import that over here as well. There we go. Form should be coming from the Shad UI. So Shad UI. There we have it. We have an input, so make sure we install the input as well. I'm going to delete the description. We don't need that. We'll delete the mess. No, we can keep the message. The message is basically very useful. It's a Zod error handler. So if you are not typing the way you want to type, the message is gonna send over here, and you want to have more character. Its minimum is 2, so that kind of message can appear over here. So input, we're good. We just install. I'm gonna bring that over here. It's coming from component, and the placer would be enter title here. That's good. Shouldn't be. I don't need the label on this one. So let's see how it's looking like. We need to make that into use client. Of course, we're using so many of React Hook. I'm gonna reset the server. It's probably gonna throw an error because we haven't created the other description that is needed, and also we haven't done one thing is like right here. It should be spreading the editor form right there. So npm run dev. We're gonna see what it looked like so far, what we created, so we have an idea of what we are working with over here. There we go. We have a perfectly untitled document form, which is coming from right here, title. So what we did is, just to recap, we got the form data using the document ID, over here, and then we passed it as a prop in the editor block. So the editor block is have all the information that it need, all the information of the document, and it's just putting on the form input as like document.title. So default value is document.title. If you have a document.title, we're gonna put that over there. If it's a blank, we're just gonna do nothing. But by default, we actually have that as our initial value. So that's coming from the backend server, which is the route here, coming from here, and it's giving us document.title. So we're gonna next create this editor over here, where we're gonna put in our description. Every time we write, it's gonna be over there. We're gonna have sub changes, delete, and AI application. I'm gonna go like a padding over on the top. So I think the padding is what's missing here as well. So I'm gonna go to the page, last name, margin top of 6 over here. So for the documentation over here, we are gonna be doing some work. We're gonna create another form, but instead of input, we're gonna be passing in something called editor. Now that editor is actually coming from a library called React Cool. I'm gonna start fetching it over here. React Cool. Over here, you see this is the library that is built on top of the JS Cool, a very popular, powerful, rich text editor. A lot of well-known company, LinkedIn, Airtable, and all the other Calendly, Slab, Mode, they all use this. So we're gonna use this, but for React one, which is React Cool right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and install that. I'm gonna create a component in the component over here and call it editor. So this is our main editor, and this is where I'm gonna do all the stuff. So RFC editor component, and we're gonna do is we're gonna bring that over here. So this is basically a styling of it. So we're gonna use the snow styling, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring and import React Cool from React Cool. Perfect. We're gonna do some props as well. Interface editor props on change value will be string, so void, and there the value will be string or the regular value. And I'm gonna paste in some of the format that I like. So I'm gonna paste in some module and some formats that I prefer for this. You can also get into the documentation to learn more about it, but let's see, React Cool API. So you can see we have formatting, we have model. So you can find a lot of configuration that you can work around this. So some of the format for the toolbar, I want the image, the link, the font, the line. For the format, I need the image and then bullet list, block quotes, strike, underline. I want that to be on my editor. So I'm just, grabbing those stuff and putting it in here. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type in the props value. Just go to editor props, and then return. We're gonna return a div, and in here we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in React Cool. Perfect. And in here we're gonna do a couple things. Theme is gonna be snow. Value is gonna be value. On change is gonna be on change. Class name, we're gonna add some class to our preferences. So 65 BH would be the height, margin bottom of 6, and white space wrap. That helps with the way it is. All the paragraphs are kind of like arranged. So this helps with that styling a little bit. And for the module, we're gonna pass in the modules, and for the format, we're gonna pass in a format as well. There we go. That's great. So we have our editor in check. Let's bring that up into our edit block over here. So in the edit block, what we're doing is we're going to be having a similar form field, but this time it's going to be a little different. So copy paste that. Just beneath this. So title, instead of title, is going to be description. Formal, instead of input, we are going to be bringing in editor from component/editor. And that should be it. Let's see what it's looking like. There we go. This is our editor right here, and untitled document. But for default values, it should be description, so it shouldn't be nothing in here. So, yep, there we go. untitled document. We have no editing capabilities. That's okay. That's great. That's looking good actually so far. So I'm gonna add maybe some styling. So I'll add some styling in here on the class name margin y of 4. So there's like a margin between these two. So you can see this is title, this is the description. You can see some differences. That's great. So far we're doing good. Let's add some buttons so we can start working with like a submit. And here's the save changes. And here we're going to do is type would be of submit. So whenever we're hitting this save changes, we want our form data to be updated. So what we're going to do is over here on submit, we're going to add on submit on the form, and we'll create a function that's going to update our data. So whatever we write in is going to be updated. So let's start doing that. I'm going to create over here on submit. It's going to be editor form. We're bringing that in again. Handle submit is going to be on update change. So every time we click on this, it's going to change that. So we're going to create a function for that as well. So on update change, right underneath this function on update change. Now it's going to have our values of z.infer type of forms schema. That's great. So exactly the value of title and description. And then we're going to do a try catch over here. So our Axios situation is going to be await Axios from Axios dot put. Then we're going to do is API slash document slash document with this dot ID. This is going to be an async function. That's good. So we are like updating the data using the values. The values going to have the title and description, whatever we type in is going to be in there. So for example, if I do console log values, be able to see on our inspect. Use this. If changes, you see title and description. This is coming from right over this values. So that's perfect. We have exactly the data we need, and we're passing it into the put request. Now all I have to do is go to this route and create the put request so we know what kind of data we're doing. So in the API document, we're going to create a new folder, and here we're going to do the same thing, document ID as a params, because this is going to be a params. And then in here, we're going to create a route.ts. So let's start working with the put. So async export async function put, all caps. And here we're going to do this request. And in here, we're going to destructure the params. So that's going to be params document ID string. And that's going to be our function. Then we're going to do is try catch blocks again. Try catch. We're going to bring in the auth, making sure the user is logged in. Otherwise, we don't want that. If user is not logged in, return new next response. And we're going to do is unauthorized user not authenticated. We'll bring in a status of 401. If it is, then we should have our title and description on the request. So we're going to do await request.json. We should have that coming from our access put coming from the value on the request. What we can do is update document is equal to await db.document.update. Where we're gonna update, where the ID is equal to params.document ID is coming from this. So that is coming from right here. And then user ID is equal to user ID. Perfect. And then we're gonna do is data. Title is could be title, and description would be description. User, not used ID, user ID. So misspelled right there. I should fix it. So what we're trying to do is like just recap. Let's finish this up before we do the recaps. So return new next response is successfully updated data. That would be 2000 or 200. And the error, if the error, I'll return response. This is a put error. And then we're going to do is a status of 500. There we go. So just recapping a little bit, what we are trying to do over here is we're playing around in here. So we are updating our changes. So anytime we handle submit is invoked over here, we are querying the data from the values from our forms, and we're passing it in a request body in this API route. And in that API route, we have a put request, which is basically checking for authentication and then grabbing the request body data that we passed in, and then finding the ID of the document ID, the exact document we are in right now, from the params, and also the user ID, making sure it's the same user ID, and then passing in the updated data. So it's been updated. So if I, let's say, new description added, and then let's name this 2, and then save changes. Like put request was successful, 200. Now if I go back, document is updated to the untitled document 2. If I go inside that, new description added. Perfect. So this big functionality is working. We can start updating styling. I mean, styling is pretty messed up. So let's go to the editor block, and we're gonna do some things. We're gonna update a little bit, like make it a little fancy and make sure it works as intended to. So we're gonna add a toast in here, and we're gonna revalidate path. So that's the most important part. So we validate our front side of the things. I also want to revalidate the document as well. So the document of the exact one we're in. So document ID. Just revalidate that path as well. And the toast, I want to bring it from the ShadCN. So ShadCN, we want to have the toast like this. We add that. The toast should add it. Like making the UI a little bit more functionality based. So we have the toast installed. Let's go start adding it into our application. So right over here, we're gonna add the toast. So toast, that's gonna be coming from the UI, and it's gonna have a title of document successfully updated. I'm not sure successfully is the right way to spell. So that's the toast that's been added. Let's see if I do changes. So it should be appearing, but it's not because we didn't install the toast properly. So one thing I forgot is like we need to do this on the layout. So the toast has been added. So we go to the root layout of our project right here. And then we're going to do is we're going to import that toaster. I'm going to put all the stuffs right over here, separate it out. And in the toaster, right before the body end, we're going to like just drop that in there. And we're going to use the toast like this. So in our where were we? The block page component. There's so many stuff open. So right here, we want to have the toaster kind of like a hook. So we want to have that brought in, and then update that import. Make sure we import it on there, right there, and then we use toast like that. We brought that in like that, and then we use the toast. So that's not coming from there. So we need to delete that other toast. We're using that toast right now, the hook toast. So that is being used over here. So let's start checking it out. Save changes. Toast should appear. Document successfully updated. Perfect. That's a good UI functionalities. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some styling to our form over here, so we know where things are standing. So step 2 is adding a floor, and then for the form we're gonna do a styling as well. Space y8 7. There we go. It's a little bit outside of it. Next functionality we're gonna do is a delete, and then we're gonna bring in the big guns with the AI in our project. So let's start building that out. So for the delete functionality, we are gonna be doing out of the form over here. So the form is basically this two, like input title, and the editor block, which is for our description text over here. So outside of this is where we're going to be doing our delete handler. So I'm going to create another form over here, and I'm going to keep it pretty simple. So I'm not going to do the ShadCN form, which kind of like is a bit configuration, but I think for our title and description, it works really well. But for our delete, it's going to be pretty straightforward. So we're going to use the form on submit handler. And in here, we're going to do a button. So let's do a button from the ShadCN, of course. And I'm going to, for the children, I'm going to write it delete. So this is like a delete button over here. So it should be popping over right here. And I'm going to do the type of submit. And then we're going to be using a variant of that as well. So variant, it comes with a lot of variant. And I'm going to be using the destructive variant. So this is like a delete version of it. And there we go. We have that nice and easy. And I'm going to style that, of course. So the form going to come with some styling, flex, float of right. And there we have it. It should be floating all the way to the right over here. So that's great. And then we're going to have on submit handler over here. So when the form is submitted, when we click the button, it's going to run a function called on document delete. So this is the function that we're going to be creating to delete our document over here. So this is going to be like an async function as well. And it's going to be called on on document delete. There we go. And we're gonna open up a try catch here. For the try, we will do is await axios dot delete, and we go to the API as well. So API slash document slash document dot ID. Handler over here, and then that should take care of it. And then we're gonna do like a toast over here as well. The toast gonna be title. We'll say document delete successfully. And then for the catch, we are gonna be console logging error. So that's it. So that's basically taking care of it. And what's happening is it's taking us to this API, and it's doing our delete operation on this API route. So we need to have a delete route handler over there. So right over API document ID, we're gonna go to the route handler over here. So once we go over here, we already have our put. This time we're gonna add the delete functionality over here. I'm going to copy this over here. It's pretty much gonna be a lot similar, so I'll keep that as is, and then I will do a delete, all caps, remember, and there we go. So yeah, we're gonna be checking in the auth. It's not authorized through an error, and then we are not gonna be getting anything from the body, so we're gonna delete that out. And then we're gonna do is document update document with a delete document. So for the delete document, we are gonna be instead of updating, we're gonna do like a delete the Prisma operation there, and then we're gonna see where ID is equal to parameter document ID, which is this right over here, and it's coming from this right over here. So that's exactly what we're gonna take in and delete. And we are also making sure that user ID matches. So user ID is equal to user ID. We don't need any data on this, so we just grab that and delete it straight up. So user ID, and that's it. So that's perfect. So that works. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna redirect them. After we delete it, we're gonna straight redirect them to our homepage. And we're also gonna revalidate path, which is like a cast reset our homepage as well. So once we delete, it's gonna redirect to the homepage, and whatever we have the homepage, the deleted one will be deleted from the cache, reset it from the cache, so it's not gonna be there anymore. So that is working great. And this is gonna be a delete error. Internal perfect. And we are gonna be returning a response successfully deleted. Deleted data. That is server side error. So that's that is great. I am going to. By the way, you're gonna see a lot of error on this. I am going to. We're gonna come and fix a lot of this stuff later. But so far, we are also doing a great job working this out on our parameter run. So let's. What we do is bring back the revalidate path from cache. Perfect. Yeah. So let's try to delete one of our documents and see what happened. So I'll go back. Let's do the document 1 to be deleted. So save changes. We have our toast working perfectly. So let's take that off, and then we are gonna be deleting it. There we have. It's out of it. We don't have that anymore, and it's gone from the revalidate. The cache has been reset, so it's not there anymore, and it already redirected to our homepage straight up. So that's perfect. That's working exactly how it's working. Let's go to the new database and refresh. So this should be gone if I refresh it. So there we go. We only have the 2. So that's perfect. It's working exactly as we want. And there we have this. I'm gonna do is update some of the styling, of course, so we have like a little better way of visualizing that. So I'm gonna do is go over here on that editor, editor block, the editor, editor block here, and we're gonna do some styling. And in here on the div, I'm gonna add some styling of margin y of 2 space x of 4. Have some margin over here. Once we have that done, I'm gonna start creating the AI part of the app. So I'm gonna refresh it if it's not taking effect yet. So, and then I'm gonna add something called a drawer. So we're gonna use a drawer to bring up the AI. So we're gonna have a button. When we click on that, it will bring up the AI, the application, and I think that's gonna work really well. And once we do the AI implementation, we're gonna go back and do some templates. We're gonna add some templates because that need to change some of our functionality so far. Right here, there we go. We also have one issue where when we click on this, it should be taking us to the template. So we don't have that yet. So we're gonna fix that as well when we work on the template section of it. So anyway, so far when we click, it just create document. It doesn't take us anywhere. That's fine. We're gonna come back and fix that shortly. So to kind of like fix our AI functionality, we're gonna start creating the drawer first. So in our ShadCN, I'm gonna just go ahead and install the drawer, which is a really nice component. So whenever we click on it, it's gonna bring up something like this, and our AI will have our data in here. So that's perfect. I'm gonna install that in our npm. Once we have that, I'm gonna copy this, and inside our right where we click the editor block, we're gonna create another component called drawer AI .css. Drawer AI. And then here we're gonna bring in our drawer from ShadCN. Great. And what we're going to do is in the drawer, they have a couple of functionality. Go to the code. You're going to see they have set open, and that's coming from the use state. So we're going to bring that in as well. And it's going to be a client component because you're using the hook. Use client. And we're going to go to the React and bring in the use state from the React. That's great. So we have that. I'm going to create a loading state as well. So we can have a loading state upon all the drawer. And then I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the dialog, copy the drawer actually. Don't need that. Copy this. And I'm going to paste it right inside the div. We also don't need the button over here. So I'm going to delete something. So inside the footer, we don't need anything inside the footer. I'm going to just delete that out, and then I'm gonna do is start updating this shortly. So we're gonna do open. It's gonna be the open use state over here. That's great. And then on open change, that's coming from that drawer functionality is already there. So we're gonna do set up. We're gonna pass in the set open. So right now, when we go there, let's implement that in our application as well. See how it's looking like. So inside the editor block, in here, we're gonna have the drawer AI. So I'm gonna, right here, we have the drawer. So it's implemented over here on this side. When I click on it, you see the drawer opens. That's perfect. So we're just gonna have to implement the AI and restructure things a little bit over here. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a button over here, coming from the Shad button that we have. And I'm gonna do is ask your wizard, and I'm gonna create a wizard emoji there, right there. Perfect. And then we're gonna do is add a variant for it. So variant will be outline, and on click, we're gonna do some handling of the wizard, which is gonna call the OpenAI. So that's gonna be coming over here. So let's style this trigger a little bit so we know where it stands, kind of. We're gonna do is flex floats right, floating on this right side over here. There we go. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna style the editor block a little bit out. What I'm gonna do is flex over here as well. And the drawer there coming in first. And then we're gonna float all of that to the right as well. So it's arranged is exactly how we did over. So drawer coming first and the form of delete coming second. And there we have it. When we click on this, the drawer opened up. That's perfect. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna start building this out a little bit. So we're going to update this header title. We're gonna choose the wizard. We're gonna add something funny. Oi, wizard here. I'm helping you out with your wizardly storytelling or resume writing. I'm gonna add some magic wand over here. This is a magic spell, by the way. It's from Harry Potter, and to like spell on the writing. On the Chamber of Secret, they had the spell. So I just added that in, and then we're gonna do some loading state here on the description, and we're gonna like pass that out. So far we have this, and then we're gonna do our AI handling over here, which is gonna read everything we write over here. So how do we implement that? Let's go ahead and go build our OpenAI, which is gonna be coming from OpenAI library. So I'm gonna go and do, and we have OpenAI already, OpenAI, and we're gonna do is have an API section somewhere over here. OpenAI API login. So once we go to the OpenAI login, you're gonna have some chatbot. There's a couple of different versions. You have an API key section, and this is it. So this is where I'll go ahead and create a new API key. You log into the API section, which is platform.openai.com/API keys. You create a new API key. You name the name of the key, default project, and it's just gonna create an API key. You name it over here. So I named it Cool Wizard Demo. You can see they already have an API key. I'm gonna use the same API key for my project over here. So that's great. Once you do that, all you have to do is come back to the env local over here, and I'm gonna name something called OpenAI/API key equal to the API key. Go to API key over here. That is great. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna build the OpenAI. So that's gonna come from the installation. So documentation, if you go there, you're gonna do a quick start tutorial, and in the tutorial there's like a Node.js tutorial over here. So we're gonna install the package. I'm gonna go ahead and install that. In our util, I'm gonna create openai.ts, and in here we're gonna start. We have the API key already. We generated that, and then we're gonna have to do is we're gonna set this to environment variable. So you can do set x OpenAI key and then paste in the environment variable API key over here. Paste it in here. So what it's gonna look like is this. Copy that environment variable API key. And then once you click on it, it will set to the environment variable. I already had it set. This should be successful on my end, your end as well. So successful is being served. That means it's been added to the env. That's perfect. And then we're going to do start making the API over here. So right over here, we're going to do is import OpenAI from OpenAI. Const OpenAI AI is equal to new OpenAI. And in here, we're going to pass in, so far we're going to do is this. We're going to pass in the API key like this, and we're going to bring in the process env later. And then we're going to do is, we're going to put that in the object over here. Object there. And dangerously, we're using on the front end. So dangerously using on the browser is true for now. So far, we're going to do is export async function OpenAI. Description is going to be a string. Const response equal to await openai.chat.completion.create. That's coming from all their documentation. You can go to the AI cookbook to learn about this, how to set it up. And that's what we did over here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do messages. It's going to be right object of role is going to be system content. That's what we need help with. We can like summarize our content over here as we want. And right after this, we want a model as well. For my model, it's going to be the cheaper version of it. So GPT Turbo 3.5. The thing is with the OpenAI API key is they don't give you a free tier. So you might have to actually pass in some billing stuff. So I'm not sure they give you like a 120 limit yet, but if it's not working, you might have to add some money into your OpenAI key. If you go to your profile billing, you can add balance, cancel plan. I added like $10 balance to make it work, but yeah, that's about it. You can add that balance over here to kind of like get it over with that project usage. But yeah, that's it. You can have more API references. If you go there, you can learn more about it in the API section. So far, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to use the cheaper version of it. So we're not using too much high-end GPT model. We're using like a very cheaper one. And what we're going to do contest, we're going to do is, this is where I tell the AI what we are trying to look for. So I need help writing about the description I provided. Suggest me some ideas about the story unfolding. Or resume writing. So if I provide a resume template, it's going to give me the resume information. The resume writing are provided if it's provided. That is perfect. We have that in control. Next we're going to do over here is right after this, we're going to open up another one. Role is going to be user. And in here, we are going to pass in the data. So the data is going to be content, JSON, stringify. And then we're going to open up another description. So there we go. We have that description added. This description is coming from the parameter over here, which we're going to pass in when we call the OpenAI function. So that is great. And in here, we're going to do is we're going to get some messages back from the response. So const message content is equal to response dot choices. It's going to be the first choices dot message and then content. So this is basically we're getting the content from the response. So OpenAI is going to come with a response and it's going to be in the in this hidden in the choices, message and content. And then we're going to do is if message content is found, then we're going to return message content. That is perfect. So we're going to bring this up into our component that we created, which is drawer component. So let's go back to our drawer component and start adding those out. So over here, we have this, and we're going to create something called is loading and some user suggestion state. So let's do that. Const user suggestion set user suggestion use state is going to be empty for now. There we have it. And then we're going to do is a loading state is loading set is loading. It's going to be a false state from beginning. That is great. Now we're going to build up a function. When we click on this, it's going to do the OpenAI thinking, right? So let's go and on here do like on click handle user suggestion function, and let's create that over here. So const handle user suggestion, and this is going to be bringing in the OpenAI that we just created, and it's going to be calling that, passing the parameters of the description over here, and it's going to work exactly what we want, and it's perfect. So the description is coming from the drawer over here. So whenever we have the description over here, document.description, so we're going to pass in here, and it's going to grab that description from here and pass it into here. So first of all is set is loading. It's going to be true. And then we're going to do is try catch. In the try catch, we're going to do is const response is equal to await OpenAI, which is we're going to bring it from the util. So there we have it. We just created that. And we're going to pass in the description. There we go. And description is going to come from right here. Description. It's going to be drawer props. The drawer props is basically going to be interface drawer props. Description going to be string or null basically, and we have that. And this is going to be the drawer props description, and we're going to be exclamation point to make sure this is all good. And we're going to pass in the description right over here. The description is going to be the document description right here. So document description. We pass that in. Perfect. We have that over here. We get the description. We're passing that into OpenAI, and the OpenAI basically doing the work to do that. So once we have a response on here, we should get the response back from the return of it. So OpenAI is going to give us the message content as a response. So we're going to get that and then set it into the user suggestion. So we're going to copy that. User suggestion is going to be response. Perfect. And then we're going to set this loading is going to be false. We got the things back, so loading should be off. And there we have it. And then here we're going to do console log here, over here, response. It's going to be right. That's great. And it says it needs some kind of a string. So to as string. Okay, so there we go. This is added a string over here. That is great because this is a string. Doesn't want to be a string. And then we can do over here is we can do console log wizard. See how it's looking like. Suggestion. So there we have it. So let's go back to our app. Let's open up our terminal and console log. Go to console log. This story is about a wizard who landed on planet Earth without his powers, he began his search for his power to be back. I'll do that, save changes. Updated text wizard. This action cannot be undone, so we didn't do that over here. So you can see over here, you're getting some wizard suggestion. It seems there is no specific description provided for whom we work with. Could you please provide more detail? So that's basically what it's saying. So if I refresh this and then ask it again, user suggestion is empty, but it's going to be coming through right here. There we go. We have a user suggestion. You can see it's been suggested. The OpenAI is working. It suggested me about some of the unfolding story. Wizard named Xander searches and forward for lost power, giving me some ideas of the stories that I can write about. That is perfect. So what we do over here is now we're gonna be putting that into our drawer. So in the drawer, after the title, we're gonna open up is loading. If it's loading, then we're gonna do is we're gonna throw in an icon over here. So icon is coming from the loader. Loader is just a Lucid React thing. That's coming from that place. And in here, I'm going to do that right now. So loader is gonna have a class name of flex mx auto. So it's in the center, a justify center as well. And we're gonna do animate spin. So it's gonna keep on spinning. And for this, we're gonna throw in the draw description over here. So if we get a description back, it's gonna be over here. So we're gonna do is wizard suggestion dot length is greater than 0. Then we're gonna do is put that in a paragraph. So paragraph we're gonna do is wizard suggestion. There we go. And we're gonna add some class name to style as well. So it's just gonna be what we'll call white space the wrap. This is gonna help with formatting our wizard suggestion over here. So that's good. So let's try this one more time. It's loading. Once the loading is done, we should get our story. So here are a few ideas for unfolding story based on the description provided. The user navigate unfamiliar landscape and cities of Earth. And something happened. We just from unspecific alliances to deeper into his search for his lost power. So there we go. We are writing something and the AI is giving us some feedback on what we can do about it. We can like give you some ideas about that. That is perfect. We are successfully updated our OpenAI responses and it's working exactly what we want. We still have some stuff to do. So we have some things to do over here. Let's fix that part of it. And then we're gonna come back, fix other small issues and ideas. So remember this component a while back called new document. So what's happening in here? Let's go and check it out. So look like whenever we do this, we click on this, the first thing is it's not taking us to a new document, right? It just, we're clicking it, and if we refresh it, a new document is created. Pretty bad user experience. So let's start fixing that up. So right here, what we are gonna do is throwing a toast. It's probably not gonna come in handy from our whatever we created on that post over here on the other page. So editor block. So we bring in that toast functionality like that in our new docs over here. And in here, we're gonna write toast. And in here, we're gonna do is toast title document successfully created. There we go. So first thing first, click on this. Toast should appear over here, right? That's the idea of our document creation. So I create that document, create it successfully. There we go. And that's great. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to push this. So we are getting a response over here, right? Whenever we create a new, we want a response over here. So when we go to the new route, we are returning a response of the new data. So new data is gonna have an ID created, specific ID that is basically pointing to this new document that we created. So we're getting that response, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna use that response on here and kind of rather like push our user to that response ID. So what we're gonna do is in here, we're gonna do const router is equal to use router, and in here we're gonna do is router dot push slash document slash response. We're getting the response gonna have the new object which contain the new document. And then they're gonna have a data and then ID. So the ID is gonna be the new document ID. So if we go back to the refresh it, so whatever we create a new document is created ID over here. So this ID is gonna be added to here, and we're gonna push that to the new document place. So this is basically automatically gonna do is go to the document and go to our document ID, and we're just gonna go to the page of that. So single document props with the params of the new document ID, and it's gonna create that block for us. So which is perfect. So let's go back and check that out if it's working correctly as we want. It's gonna come from, we're probably doing some issues. We're getting some issues over here. Just coming from navigation, not router. So fix that right there. Solve the error for us. So let's click on this, see what happens. Boom. Document successfully created. It goes to the new blank document pages. That is great. New document, and then save changes. At least 2 characters. So this is the error that's coming from Zod. So in the description, we need at least 2 characters. Just 2 characters. Save it. And then document updated successfully. Go back, and new document have been updated. Now we can go ahead and delete these documents over here with our delete functionality. It's perfect. And there we go. There we have it. So that's perfect. We created that. It's working exactly how we want. When we click on document, it goes to our new document successfully created with the new document ID. Now we can see DEA, and we go back to Neon, refresh that. The new document is gonna have a DEA ID. That is great. So now we want to start working on the template. In order to do that, we need to update our functionality a little bit. So whenever we create a new doc, we know exactly what we're doing. We need to add some parameters. So this template for now, it just have a regular blank, creating a new doc blankly. Now, what if we add some new things to it? Let's create another one over here. Copy paste this real quick. So you have a component and you have a blank document. So let's name this visually storytelling template. Storytelling template. There we have it. And then in here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep everything pretty much the same, but for this, we're gonna add some parameters. So create docs is gonna take 2 parameters. The first parameter is going to be the title and description. So what we're gonna do over here is we are gonna have title. It's gonna be a string, and by default, it's gonna have untitled document. We're also gonna add a description, and by default, it's gonna be string. It's gonna be empty. So this is the 2 parameters they're taking. So this is for the resume template over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click that, and over here we're gonna pass in the data for our template. So whatever we do is we're gonna bring in the title, which will be title, and then description is going to be description. So whatever we're seeing as a parameter is going to be passing to our API post route, and then we're going to inject that to our database. So for example, in here, we're going to pass in two parameters as we told. The first parameter is going to be visually storytelling template. And then the second parameter is going to be our description, right? So I'm going to paste in string little, and then I'll paste in this description over here. So this is a big one. So it's just spacing things out a little bit. So we have exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouncement, which is like a storytelling planning for a novel or storytelling template. So I just pasted that in here as a second argument, which is gonna be the description right here. So once we have that set, like the parameters, we're going to be updating a little bit into our post over here. So new post, this is where we're going to do that. So we passed in the parameter into our body of the Axios post. And what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to update a little bit. So after the title, after we check in our user, I'm going to do is const title and description is equal to await request.json. And then we're going to get the title, pass it into our data, get the description from the body, pass that into our data. So that is great. So what is happening right now is in here, we're getting two parameters. If its parameter is not present, it's going to have a default title and an empty description. It's going to pass that into our body. And in our route handler, we're going to get that from the body of the request, and then we're going to add that to our data. That is great. And then we're going to get like the new create doc as well. So we're going to push that into our our router over here, kind of like go to that storytelling document. So if we have a parameter, this will be booked with the new parameter. The title will be something else that we passed in. Description will be the description that we passed in, and it will be new information that will be added. So let's go ahead and try that out. I click on the visually storytelling template. I'm going to create it successfully, and see we have the visually storytelling template as our title, and we have the description right there. That is perfect. So we created a template. Let's don't make it too long, so user friendly a little bit, and we're gonna create another template just for the sake of it. Really pretty similar to what we created over here. I'm just gonna copy this whole thing. There we go. Part as well. Then what we're going to do is work a resume template. For the resume template, we're going to type in resume, capital, and the other one too as well. Have it, refresh properly. And for the resume template, I'll paste in some similar things over here. Name, job history, project, education, and skills. So what happened when we go to the resume template, click on it, it created a resume template for us. If we go back, the resume template will be created over here. So there we have it. We create resume template, visually storytelling template, untitled document. So we have some template to work with. I can go here and delete that. Delete that template for us. You can go ahead and delete that as well. Delete that template for us. The resume template, you can write in some resume data and ask the AI. It's going to give you some information about the resume template. And that is great. So I know we have seen some errors, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the server and reset it one more time. And just to debug some of the error that we have been seeing. So we can like go ahead and start fixing some of this stuff over there. So run the localhost, refresh the page. I want to go to the home page here. So first error we see is document is not defined and look like it's coming from the editor, right? So let's go ahead and fix that a little bit. So we are going to go to the editor and bring in some stuff over here called first we're going to make this into a client component. And then we're going to bring import dynamic and import from next dynamic, and then we're going to do is import use memo. We're going to get rid of this hydration error that we're having. So what we're going to do is inside in here, we're going to do is const react quill equal to use memo. Open a function over here, dynamic, another function over here, import react quill. What we do is SSR is false, and then we're going to end that with an empty array. Impact quill is make sure we spell that right. I am going to delete this over here. And let's see if I reset the server one more time, if that error still persists or not. So it looks like that error is gone, right? We don't see that error anymore, which is perfect. So we kind of like got rid of that hydration error from the editor. Now we have some more hydration error, but we're gonna fix that by handling our dashboard and other component in a more manner that suggested. What I'm gonna do is like go to the dashboard over here, and in the dashboard I'm gonna throw in some suspense. So and then put that in a new doc over here. For fallback, we want a loader from the Lucid React icon, and we're gonna do is last name, flex, justify center, animate spin. So that's our fallback. We're gonna do the same thing for our recent documentation as well. So both parts are like handled in the suspense. So if the hydration doesn't match, we have like a loading state, fallback state, fall into it. So let's go back to, let's reset our project one more time. You might see the loading state pretty fast. I'm not sure if it's a little slow loading, slow internet connection. You might be able to see the suspense fallback. But you can see we got rid of all the errors on our console log. Let's go back to documentation. It's created the post 200, compiling the document, and then it's gonna take us to that URL right there. You can write some document and write some stories, and then we can go back here. We can go to our user template, no error, post to all successful, and we can go here, delete that. It's gonna delete that part of it, and there we have it, deleted, and then we have deleted one more time. Deleted one more time. Perfect. So it's exactly how it is working. I think we have done a really great job doing this project. Now, one thing you can do is like the AI. You can do like a process.env over here instead of the string. So process.env OpenAI key, that would work as well. Local, and so it's a good way to kind of like do the OpenAI. I think we've done a lot in this project. So for example, we created this, and then we do the sign out, that take us to the home page, and we do the sign in. Let's do a new user. just to recap how things came out about. We have a new user right now. The new user doesn't have, once you start writing a recent document, we'll go over here, and then I can go ahead and click the blank document. It's going to create the document, and then I can write some stories. Story over here, but I just noticed one thing we have over here. We have an issue over here that could come into hydration error in a little bit, or we probably have that error in our side. So on the drawer AI, we have the drawer, and we have like trigger, which is a button itself, and we added a button inside. So that's not a good look. So what we're gonna do is on click, gonna move that into the trigger, and then we're gonna do is delete this button over here, so we don't do that. And then we're gonna do is kind of like a button style, order one. And we're gonna do is py2 px4, and then add a rounded over here. So we have some kind of button over here, and we're gonna do a hover bg maybe. Is opacity is a little less maybe. So click on this. We don't have the hydration error anymore, and it's giving us some ideas. So here are a few ideas of how the story could unfold based on the description provided. The user stranded on Earth without his power. Of course, his lost power takes him on a journey to different realms and dimensions. Travelers lost power, he formed unlikely alliances with human mythical creatures and even enemies from his past. So they're giving us a really good idea of how the story can unfold, which is great. I love this product so far. It came out really good. We create a new user, we create a new potential story over here. We have a blank doc, just delete that over here. So we have everything in place. We have a user template, we have a resume template that you can work with, and ask the AI to help you out on that. So it's great. We don't have any more error going on. We figured out how to fix some of the error with hydration, and the button inside the button was a fake over here, and also the OpenAI error. So we have everything in place. We made a beautiful application with Next.js on our front end, ShadCN for the styling, Neon for the data, Clerk for the authentication. We create a beautiful application like the Google Doc, but we also like AI. So we use OpenAI. We learn how to use the OpenAI into our Next.js project, and kind of like it helps us to suggest some ideas that we can work on with in the future. So I hope you guys had a lot of fun building this project. Make sure you support me. I'm like trying to grow my channel out. So there's a free Next.js guide. Make sure you grab that. Just click on the link down below. I also have a Next.js course on Udemy, which is basically like goes over a project-based learning situation where we have like we build 4 to 5 different projects every time we learn new concepts. So it's a really good course to kind of drill in some of the concepts Next.js has to offer. And yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this project, and I had a lot of fun myself building this for you guys. So yeah, take care. See you on the next video.